So what do you want to play?
I was thinking maybe a monster-themed game like Cryptid or King of Tokyo.
I kind of want to play a cooperative game, like Spirit Island or Pandemic Legacy.
Maybe we can meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. How about Horrified? That's got the monsters and it's cooperative.
Perfect. You know, I'm glad we have such a diverse board game collection. This could be really problematic otherwise.
Yeah. That gives me an idea for our next video. Hey, what's up gamers? I'm Bianca.
And I'm James.
We're a husband and wife board gaming duo called the Tricktakers.
We're here to play our hand at board game reviews and how-tos.
Today, we're talking about how to build a diverse board game collection.
Having a variety of games in your collection is a great way to keep your game nights interesting.
And switching up the types of games you bring to your table can really help to keep your favorite games feeling fresh every time you play.
There are several factors to consider when building your collection of board games.
So let's get started with 10 tips to build a diverse board game collection.
Our first tip is to look for games with unique themes. There's so many different games nowadays, so the sky's the limit when it comes to building a collection with distinct themes and artwork.
Theme is really important to me, so I always get really excited when I come across a game with a theme that I haven't seen before.
Sure, you can go the traditional route with a solid dragon or monster theme game like Gloomhaven, but it's never a bad idea to switch it up with another theme that excites you.
Some of my favorite games have very original themes, like building a bird aviary in Wingspan, or visiting national parks in Parks.
And there are always more games coming out. Kickstarter is a great place when looking for new and interesting games to support.
Next up, let's talk about game mechanics. This is how players interact with the rules and how the game responds to those interactions.
A few examples of these mechanics include deck building, tile laying, worker placement, roll and write, deduction, and trick taking.
There might be a certain game mechanic that you really enjoy, but that doesn't mean that every game in your collection should have it.
Having games with varying mechanics means the games in your collection will have different rules and approaches to gameplay.
This is a key way to bring some diversity to your game collection. The third factor you should consider when building your board game collection is complexity, or the weight of the game.
The complexity of the game can be determined by a few factors, like how long it takes to learn the game, how much skill is involved in gameplay, and how long the game takes to play through.
Including a variety of complexity levels in your collection is a great way to bring both new and seasoned players to your table. It also gives you games for different occasions.
For example, a lighter weight game is good for catching up with family, while a heavier game might appeal to a more serious game night.
Plus, sometimes you might not be in the mood to play a super heavy game, so it's nice to have a variety of light, medium, and heavy games to pick from.
As a follow-up to our previous point about complexity, it's only fitting that time would be the next variable on our list.
This is how long it takes to play a game. Some games are quick and only take 15 or 20 minutes.
While others can take an hour or longer to play. It might even have a more involved game setup that also takes some time.
We love pairing a longer game with a short game for our game nights.
For example, we might start up the night with a round or two of The Crew as a warm-up, and then move on to the main event with a longer game like Root. Up next, add a couple of campaign games to your collection. These are games with a longer narrative that takes place over the course of several playthroughs.
This genre includes some of the most popular and top-rated games of all time, like Pandemic Legacy and Gloomhaven.
Most campaign games require making permanent changes to the components throughout the game that carry over between playthroughs.
And there's an element of character building that really draws people in. Essentially, it's about developing your character's abilities as part of a larger story.
We find that campaign games work best if you have a dedicated group that meets regularly. The idea here is that every time you play, the story picks up from where it left off.
Our next tip for diversifying your board game collection is to take player count into consideration.
This will give you the ability to accommodate just about any number of players at your table. A well-rounded collection works for a quiet night at home with 2 people, a party with 20 people, and everything else in between.
In our collection, we have games for 2 players, like 7 Wonders Duel. But we also have code names, which can accommodate 2 teams of pretty much any number of people. And let's not forget games with rules for solo play. A lot of games out there now have the ability to be played with just 1 person. Number 7 on our list is cooperative games. These are games where everyone works together to beat the game instead of competing against each other.
Some of our favorite games in our collection are cooperative, like Spirit Island, where each player is an island spirit defending their home from invaders.
And Horrified, where all players work together to save the townspeople and take down the classic universal monsters.
Cooperative games are an awesome way to mix things up if you're looking to play something a bit less competitive between players. Speaking of competition, we also recommend thinking about how much player interaction there is throughout your game collection.
Some games are packed with player interaction, with take-that mechanics that can be a bit off-putting to certain players.
So it's a good idea to have a mix of more friendly games in your collection, along with those that involve more competition between players.
For instance, Unfair is a game where each player builds their own amusement park. It involves a ton of player interaction because certain events in the game allow people to mess with each other's attractions.
On the other hand, the Grand Carnival is another amusement park themed game, but there isn't much direct player interaction. Some people may prefer this type of competition, plus it can just be more relaxing to play than Unfair because of its more passive play style.
So even though there is some overlap in theme between these 2 games, the play experience is dramatically different.
Both of these games hold their own because of these differences. They are both solid options depending on what we're looking to play on a given game night.
Our 9th tip for diversifying your game collection is to consider how much focus is required and how much socialization it will allow.
Some games are really quiet and puzzly, as each player focuses on their strategy to win, while other games are more laid back, allowing for more conversation between players.
So, depending on your mood and who you're gaming with, you could choose to play a quiet and more thinky game like Stellar,
or a more social game like Rival Restaurants.
Lastly, since we are talking about diversity, we do recommend supporting games designed by all kinds of people from all walks of life.
These games contain a different point of view and unique cultural themes based on the designer's own experiences.
Unfortunately, there is still a disparity in the board gaming industry, where there are fewer non-white and non-male game designers. But if you do your homework, you could discover something awesome that you haven't tried before.
For example, Arranged by Nasha Balagamwala uncovers the pressure she experienced to get married growing up in a more traditional Pakistani household.
And Thug Life, designed by Jason Serrato, is based on his experience growing up as an inner city kid. It has an edgy theme and a diverse set of characters.
Elizabeth Hargrave is the designer of Wingspan, and she uses her website and Twitter as a way to spotlight women and non-binary game designers, along with Black voices in board games.
Her site is a great place to start if you're looking to round out your collection with some new games from these designers. The link is in the description. There's a certain art to building a diverse board game collection. It involves a lot of thought about what's important to you and your gaming experience.
Some people may focus on 1 or 2 of these tips, like complexity or player count, while others may get more ambitious and attempt to diversify in every possible way.
So we want to know, what's important to you when building your board game collection? Do you have any tips that we missed? Let us know in the comments.
Thanks for tuning into our channel. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button. We post new videos every other Thursday.
So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified when our next video drops. We'll see you next time.
Trick takers out.